Welcome back, everybody, to Pull Hook Golf, the podcast. I'm your host, Matt Cook. Tonight, we've got a couple secret, awesome guests that we're going to be bringing on here in just a little bit. But on tonight's show, we've got the players preview with the special guest. If you've looked at the notes for this episode, you're already going to know who that is, but we're going to be bringing him on in just a little bit. We're going to go over his background. We're going to go through a betting preview. We're going to talk about the course conditions out there at TPC Sawgrass. We're going to get into Tiger's injury tonight, which is some devastating news, unfortunately. We've got Jay Monahan's comments out there at the players that has erupted a little bit of an underbelly of people getting angry or happy, depending on which side of the fence you are on. And then we've got LIV Golf's viewership at the very end that we're going to be tapping into. But as part of our, we normally give a shout out to our sponsors. Good old Devereux Golf. Yes, folks, that is spelled DEVEREUX golf.com. Utilize the promo code PullHookGolf20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order at DevereuxGolf.com. But I got a little something special for you guys. So we do not have the captions yet for this, but if you think you know what's coming, it might be coming. Here you go. This is a little special treat. This is an intro, or actually it is our sponsorship ad for Devereux Golf in Korean for the first time. Here we go.
devereuxgolf.com을 방문해봐. 그래서 devereuxgolf.com을 꼭 확인해봐. 할인 코드로 풀훅골프20을 사용하면 devereuxgolf.com에서 전체 주문에 대해 20%라는 큰 할인을 받을 수 있어. 꼭 확인해봐.
매티, 잠깐만. 이건 사막 골프 브랜드야. 저건 확실히 바닷가재가 아니야. 그냥
사막가재.
아마 그래.
그럴 수 있겠네요.
사막 바닷가재 같은 거네. 정말로.
아, 정말. 지금 쇼에 많은 청중이 함께하고 있어요. 우리는
So, folks, that is the Korean Pull Hook Golf. That is just a sample, but that is our sponsor read in Korean for DevereuxGolf.com. We also want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Johnnie Walker, and I'm wearing the collection tonight. You can see the Johnnie Walker logo on one side, the Devereux logo on the other. We got the Johnnie Walker Devereux Golf polo on. These are fresh. They sent me the whole kit and caboodle. I got our little fanny pack over here. They call it a crossbody. I'm old school, so we just want to give a shout out to everybody over there. And let's go ahead and get started by bringing on our guest for the evening, Mr. Matt Gannon, everybody. Woo!
I'll tell you right now, I did not expect that. That was beautiful. You didn't tell me anything about the Korean ad you had going on, so that gave me a laugh in the background. Awesome. You guys got to run that every single week.
Dude, I saw you in the green room because I couldn't hear you, but I could see you just dying laughing when that came on. And we've been talking about it for a few weeks on this show, that we've got a company that is really trying to, they're looking to dub all of the episodes, and they're actually going to eventually get to the point to where it's like the AI lips, so it moves along with the Korean words as well.
Right.
And that's all. It's coming, folks. It is coming. We promised that it was coming. And I just need to get the U.S. subtitles because I still don't know what the hell I'm saying there, other than Devereux Golf Kim.
That I have no idea how you got tied into that because that is hilarious. I need to look into that for our own pod because that's funny.
Dude, it is awesome. We're bringing it to Korea. We were wondering too. We're like, is it just South Korea or is North Korea going to get in on this too? We shall see. Yeah, who knows? They all speak the same language, so. Without further ado, folks, we've got ourselves Mr. Matt Gannon here tonight. And Mr. Matt Gannon, by the way, so just so that you guys all know, he's part of Vincerix, and this is a, how would you, like, when you give your elevator pitch, like, what would you say Vincerix is?
Yeah, so it started off as more of a data analytics and just numbers site. And then as the time went on, we realized what we were best at, and my boss Adam really put this into the world, and we became we realized what we were good at, and that was the boots on the ground stuff, heading out to every tournament, or not every tournament, a handful of tournament, giving those insights because we knew that we were good at dialing in on the course previews, seeing who will play well where, what the course will play like on a given week, because even courses that we go to multiple years straight, they change on a yearly basis. So stuff like that, basically what a caddy would do, and relaying that into betting and analytics and course strategy, stuff like that. So we're in the numbers, and then we're also into the eye test, stuff like that. So we combine both of those things, and that basically is Vince Eric's. Then also on a non-boots weeks when we're not out there, we have a ton of numbers, a ton of AI insights, a ton of other stat models, anything you could imagine, uh, a ton of content. Basically, you can have a lot of fun on the site. Definitely get in the weeds for a few hours and learn a lot.
It is wild, folks. I mean, Matt and I, we got introduced at the caddy event that was out at Grass Clippings over the Waste Management Phoenix Open. You were there with, why am I blanking on his name?
Wilcox.
Sung Jay's caddy, Willie Wilcox.
Wilcox.
And sure enough, he was playing with my buddy David Geese the second, and we ended up walking around and watching those two go, but we were chatting it up. I was super interested in these betting models and everything that you were doing, and what really interested me is that you have where you are going out there each and every week for the most part. Now, not every single golf tournament, you were very clear on that, but you went and actually walked the golf courses to see what the course conditions are going to be for the week, and that helps with your model as well.
Yeah, 100%. Because like I said before, I mean, weather, as a golfer yourself, a course that you've played 100 times changes based on the given week, based on the wind, based on the rain, based on the conditions, how the guys are setting it up. So we like to get out there, because TPC Sawgrass could play one way one year, and then you get out next year and can treat a totally different style of golfer, and that changes, especially for the majors, especially for the golf tournaments that we're not used to seeing on a given year. We get out to those big events and really dial in who's going to play well on these weeks, and it's been really successful the last 2 years. We've had a really good gauge on who's going to play well every single week.
I mean, there's been 3 events to where I've taken your picks, and one of those weeks I won. So you've got me absolutely hooked. And I'm telling you, folks, is it vincerix.com? Is that the web
Correct.
Address? Okay.
Yep,
so we'll spell that for everybody on the podcast version of this. We'll put that on screen, but that is vincerix.com. And by the way, folks, Matt Gannon is his name, and walking golf courses and creating great bets is his game. So Trot Golfer was asking. Trot Golfer is one of our great regular audience members. He's apologizing for being late. He was trying to get his range balls back. I don't exactly know what that. Well, he's a pro out at a golf course here in Arizona, so sure enough, somebody might have been stealing some range balls that he had to chase down. But we're glad to have you on, Trot. This is Matt Gannon from Vincerix, and they do all the golf betting. But Matt's been out there walking the grounds at TPC Sawgrass. Take us through, what are you seeing with the course conditions right now out there?
Yeah, so as soon as we got to TPC Sawgrass, we noticed that basically it was easier than we've seen in past years. We noticed that the rough was it was up, but it was very predictable and very lush, because at TPC Sawgrass, it is one of the most pristine courses in the entire world. There's not a blade of grass out of place. So these guys get in the rough, and sometimes they're clubbing up and having to hit a shot that they wouldn't hit obviously in the fairway, but it's coming out very predictable. And that's the same way around the green. There's not many spotty areas that are unpredictable. And the fairways are soft. They're not quite like a Puerto Rico Open soft. They're soft and they're holding balls up, but if you're hitting a low shot, you're definitely going to be able to chase it down there. The greens are also soft. They're going to firm up over the weekend for sure as the wind picks up. But right now, if you're in the fairway, you can attack a pin no matter where the location is, and stop it if you're able to control your ball.
There you have it, folks. I mean, that is some great insight. Now, who does that favor? I mean, when we look at the numbers when it comes to players that play well there, because we've seen where Kevin Kisner almost won this damn tournament, right? One of the shortest hitters out there. And then you've got Scottie Scheffler winning it the last 2 years. You got bombers up there the past couple of years, that in Rory, Wyndham. I mean, you've got guys that hit the ball a long way. So who is this going to favor this week?
Yeah, as of now, we're thinking there's 2 styles of golf, like 2 types of golfers and 2 unique styles that can really get to the top. So At first, there's the guys who are just going to mint fairways and come in with low ball flights into greens because guys with we were talking to Ben on, and he was talking about how he hits such a high and spinny ball that he just can't. It's so tough for him to control into those greens because I mean he's hitting it spin. Like, it's great for a firm golf course of major conditions, but this week it's not really good. So a guy that can hit like a lower flighted ball that's going to check up quicker, that will work. And then from there, also another style is a term that we've coined, positional bomber plus, a guy who's accurate and long, give you a massive advantage to the field if you're hitting fairways while being long. Obviously, that's a massive skill, but it's a very unique skill because they're guys who are plus in distance and plus in accuracy, not guys who, like Brent, is a pure bomber. Brent is an
Talking
absolute.
about Brent, let's bring Brent on. He has just
There he
arrived
is.
How we doing?
onto the studio. Brent Grant, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How's everybody doing?
Doing well as well. So this is Matt Gannon here. Matt, this is Brent. Brent, this is Matt. And I'm
Mr.
Matt,
Gannon?
so this is confusing. But at the same time, Brent, we were actually talking about your game before we hopped on air, Matt and I, and how they used to I mean, get after you a little bit because you were so long and straight as a driver of the golf ball.
Yeah,
Yeah,
where were
that's-
you? 2023 Farmers Insurance Open round 1 North Course. Generational round.
Yeah.
Generation
So,
round.
yeah, that was fun. Yeah, certainly aided the score being as low as it was, being able to hit it as far and as straight as I was that week. So
Hell yeah.
Well, it's sounding like you would be the type of player that would do well out at TPC Sawgrass this week. So you're saying the long drivers that are accurate, and then what's the other attributes that they need to have?
Spin control into greens.
Yeah, Brent doesn't have spin control, so he'd be out on that one. But I'm just kidding, Brent. I'm trying to think of like what golfers are there other than, I mean, the obvious comes to mind. Scottie Scheffler can control spin really well. He's won it 2 years in a row. Obviously, the favorite out there this week. But who's looking good so far to you, Matt?
Yeah, a guy by the name of Nikolai Horgard. I'm sure you've heard of him. He's a stud. He's a Ryder Cupper, but he's also a mega long shot. You can get well over triple digits. I think over 200 to 1 on Nikolai this week. I'm not saying he's going to win. There's other markets where you can make money on him this week, but what Nikolai is able to do when he gets going, he hits the ball firmer and solid as anyone in the world. Not too long ago, he was beating everyone, won the DP World Tour Championship, defeated Rory McIlroy, Victor Hovland at his prime, John Rahm, anyone you name it. He beat him, and he contended with Scottie, Ludwig, Collin in the Masters just a year ago. So Nikolai's looking good. He's kind of gotten forgotten because his brother's playing some decent golf right now. But we can't forget about Nikolai, and he looks the part out there this week.
Yeah, and he's plus 22,000 according to FanDuel right now. So
yeah, that'd be something.
You might want to jump on that, folks. That line might move after this podcast. Who else we like in this week? I mean, that one is a nice long shot that you could really make some money on. But who are some of the favorites that we're looking at this week?
Obviously, like you said, Scottie, but in the world that we live in, we don't really touch a guy around 3, 4, 5 to 1 because it's not worth our return on investment in a given week. I told you how I set up my cards. I like to have at least 7 to 1. Yeah, so Scottie's kind of out for us this week, but yeah, checks that box. And if you go down the board a little bit, we liked what we were seeing from Patrick Cantlay this week. Patrick Cantlay is a guy that we're very in and out on. We don't love because he's very like upsetting on a given week, but the odds on him have drifted for the first time in a long time. And he has a very spotty game, but when he's clicking, obviously he's a generational player. He can get it done in any golf course. And he was one of the only golfers who was able to keep up with Scottie out there today. But I mean, not easily because Scottie was on a different planet. But Patrick Cantlay looked decent. Tee to green, looked really, really solid around the green. He's got to sharpen it up a little bit, but it's more just a play on, we know his skill set. We know that the odds are drifting a little bit, and I think it's a good time to maybe run him out.
Love that. And he's been playing TGL, which you've been around as well there. Matt, you were the one that asked the question that everybody said, shh, Stop asking us that question in regards to the hammer and Patrick Cantlay's strategy, because you figured it out.
Yeah, that was pretty funny because Atlanta was the only team who knew how and when to throw the hammer, and I don't know they get so upset when I asked them, but they were definitely joking. But yeah, so look out for them in the TGL playoffs for sure.
For sure. So Patrick Cantlay. Anybody else that you're liking this week? Trying to get all my picks here out of you.
Yeah, we have one more day out there tomorrow, so we want to get some eyes on Ludwig. I didn't see him today. He's definitely a name that I want to keep in my back pocket. But truthfully, so Scottie looked so good that it was hard to like get excited about so many other guys because Scottie just was on a different planet. And I promise you, I've talked to you ahead of these events. That's not always the case. Like I'm like high on some guys, so I'm nervous. I definitely am nervous. If you want to get in there, I know in Arizona you could bet the without Scottie market on some books. Definitely consider it. I haven't made my decision yet. We got 24 more hours to lock that in. So I'll definitely report.
I will
back
be hitting
to
you up for sure.
Yeah,
be asking you for those picks.
Not really. Not too sure yet who I'm really gonna land on, but those two names are guys that I'm definitely leaning towards so far that I've given.
I will just say this, Scottie during his press conference too, he understands this golf course to such a expert level. And I always thought about that with Pete Dye golf courses. I am terrible playing Pete Dye golf courses because he's smarter than I am. And he just designs these golf courses that do not fit my game. One that comes to mind is Pound Ridge in New York, and then another one, Bully Rock in Maryland. And there's plenty of these Pete diabolical golf courses that are so underrated, it's not even funny. And then TPC Sawgrass, I have not played yet, but I imagine that it would absolutely take my money and make me have a miserable day out there. Because normally I curse at Pete Dye afterwards. I'm like, rest in peace, Pete. But fuck you, because this sucks, and I hated my round of golf today because you beat me at every level. I couldn't read a damn putt. I couldn't get up and down from anywhere. Like, I kept short-siding myself. So Pete Dye has a knack, but listening to Scottie Scheffler today, it's like, shit, he understands how to play this golf course. He knows what it takes to win. Obviously, he's done it the past 2 years. And that confidence, like, Scottie Scheffler doesn't always come across as a confident guy in press conferences. He seems comfortable. He seems ready, where like he got off to that slow start this year. Let's face it. I mean, when you cut your hand wide open and you have to go have stitches put in and so forth, like that can mess with you a little bit in the weeks to come. But it finally seems like he's settled in. He's ready to go. And yeah, this could be a tough week for anybody trying to go outside of Scottie Scheffler. But that is not who we want. Sorry, Scottie. Your odds are too good. We're looking for other people here. And I do want to ask, while we've got you on here too, Brent, who do you like? Who do you tend to lean towards when it comes to TPC Sawgrass? Have you ever played out there? I'm switching the question.
No problem. I played a few times. I love Pete Dye golf courses, not because they're easy or I play them well necessarily, but I just love the fact that it's kind of it's complicated in that it's a hard golf course, but they're generally very beautifully designed. So there's not really anything Mickey Mouse about it. And TPC Sawgrass is a perfect example of that. It's kind of just your all you want. Obviously over the years they've kind of messed with some tee boxes and they've tried to lengthen the course in some areas. And I think the ninth hole par 5 is one of those where they've basically taken it to where I think it's 30 or 40 yards back, I think, Matt. And so it either becomes a risk reward if it's downwind, but if it's into the wind or if it's soft, it's just it's a 3-shot par 5. So it kind of takes a little bit of the drama out of it. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, Rory's obviously the guy to look out for. He played well last week. Arnold Palmer, similar golf course, similar grass. But yeah, I love it out there. The 16th hole is probably my favorite hole in all of golf, and
Wow.
just you're all out. Just go get it par 5 and hit it far enough to where I can hit a 6-iron in there. So
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite collections of par 5s that I see all year round. It's just you can get all of them at 9 if you miss in the wrong spot, like around the green. You can make a 6 even if you're down there in 2. Yeah. So I think it's what is your favorite die course that you've played, if you don't mind me asking? Like
Yeah,
on tour.
so on tour, we've played, let's see. We didn't really get to play that many. So the most notable obviously is TPC Sawgrass, but I can get to play the players during the tournament. Trying to remember if we've played many. I can't really think of many die courses because the Honda tournament, that's a Nicholas, isn't it?
Yeah, La Quinta is a die.
La
Yeah,
Quinta, yeah.
that's
Obvious.
right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fine course. Obviously, it's
Yeah.
nothing too crazy. There's like 15 in the desert that are way
Yeah.
better than La Quinta Country Club, although those are probably the best greens all year. Other than that, I can't really think of anything.
I think TPC San Antonio maybe,
Is that a die
and
course?
I believe so. I do believe so. And then there's
I actually did a search
I
earlier
like that
before
place.
this where I had ChatGPT do a bunch of deep research as to like
Beautiful.
all the Pete Dye golf courses. And let's just see here. So we've got, I mean, there's a shit ton. When you start going through, you're like,
Oh yeah,
really?
he's-
That
he's
is
built
so
so
like
many.
TPC River Highlands is one. You've
Mhm.
got
That's right. No, usually hosts the Wells Fargo if Quail is hosting the PGA, correct?
No, that's
Kiwa
TPC
Island.
Potomac.
That's Potomac. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you got Kiwa Island, you've got, I mean, and I'm a big Kiwa Island Ocean Course fan. Actually, that's a course that I've played well at. So I guess
That's a
my
beautiful
theory with
course.
Pete Dye courses is wrong.
Yeah, the amazing thing about Mr. Dye, and I only got to meet him once and talk to him for about 30 minutes at the U.S. Team Championship in 2015. It's funny enough, the Corn Ferry Tour Championship is actually at that course there in French Lick, and he kind of dubbed that his kind of like Frankenstein, in that he literally said they gave me a blank check, and well, I moved more land for that tournament for that course than I've moved in any other venue. So that place is pretty beautiful. But honestly, Sawgrass is probably my most favorite course that I've
Yeah.
played that is of Mr. Dye. Just unfortunately, I haven't played the players just yet. But San Antonio's fun, but it's a little quirky. It's got, if it gets windy out there, it gets pretty snappy. So which obviously it's San Antonio, which is pretty easy to do. But back to this week, have we? So you said Scottie's looking good. So obviously he's one of the best ball strikers in the world and has been for quite some time. Was there something that stood out that maybe you haven't seen from him before?
100%. Yeah. It's his comfortability around there is like second to none. I've been out there all season long, all like last year too. He just looks so in control. He knows how to flight his ball. Like on the 16th, for example, guys like Rory, anyone was just bombing a driver out there, and it was stopping because the fairways were somewhat soft. Scottie hits a flighted one. It gets out there, and he's hitting a middle iron into that green, or at least what looks like a middle iron, well shorter than anyone else. And Scottie's by no means a long driver on tour.
No.
He's well around average, but he just knows how to control his flight into this golf course, hit his spots. And like on 9, 18, hit like a soft cut that stopped right before the pine straw because he just knows. And I was going into the week like, oh, I don't know, maybe Scottie's struggling with the driver a little bit because of the hand and he hasn't been driving it great. But after seeing him out there, it's really like this is his place. Not a hot take. 2 straight years, 2 straight wins.
Yeah, of course.
It just everyone has their spots, and world number one's one of his spots happens to be TPC Sawgrass. So just he's so in control.
That's spot on. Anytime I ever got the chance of watching him hit the ball, and especially if I got to play in front of him or play behind him, it was kind of, it was obvious that he understood how to hit the ball off the tee to fit the fairway, rather than what you see a lot from some of the bombers, which is kind of just, I hit either a flat cut and it goes a mile, or I hit that high bomb draw that some of the guys like Bryson and Rory are hitting. But so when you go to an event, is there kind of a routine that you have that kind of builds out where you have all this data? Because it sounds like you're pretty well.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll get out there, and this kind of changes for the events that we've been to versus not been to. So when we go to like say example, a major or a new venue, we'll go out there and like shout like a cat, like your caddy would do. Go out
Yeah.
there and chart all the yardages, see what you're gonna hit off the tee, what you're gonna hit into the greens, basically like a caddy's job. And then from there, we have the database of what the yardage is, and then we see how the course is going to play. Like, is this gonna what kind of style of golf is it going to suit? And then that probably takes around half the day of the first day. For the majors, we'll do 3 days. And then from there, it's just walking the course and finding players who are A, striping, and 2, fitting that narrative, because every week is a different week. So
that's
and
awesome.
Brent, back to your point over Scottie, fitting things in and not necessarily being the longest driver. He was talking today about the fact of, on hole number 1, you got to fade the tee shot. Then you got to draw on the approach shot. Hole 2, you got to do the opposite. It's like he is seeing it. And then he started talking about the windows that you have to hit it in order to control that spin. That's where I was blown away by him, because I've never seen him talk to the media like that before. So like that, to me, I'm just like, holy crap, here we go, Scottie Scheffler.
That's the next level. And that's why, one of the things that I've worked, tirelessly on over the last, probably 3 years really, was thinking about those windows. And, even with some of the long irons and some of the mid iron shots, especially on the Korn Ferry Tour, with the greens being soft almost every single week. But it's amazing because, we haven't really heard much from him. Obviously, there's been a lot of politics, a lot of flamboyant back and forth between, certain players of certain level. And it seems like apparently Collin upset some people on Sunday when he decided not to speak to the media, which, by the way, just so we're clear, is not a requirement. So they're making something out of nothing. And kudos for Collin for sticking up for himself. But yeah,
I also think Collin had a lot of people betting money on him.
Oh yeah, I mean, he certainly was and this is one of those things where there is a business behind it, and I understand the business. As somewhat of a purist, I definitely don't believe there needs to be any sort of betting with regards to golf, but that's just sort of me. But whatever. But yeah, Scottie is going to absolutely get started. It's amazing that he's able to play such a stiff tournament like the Arnold Palmer, which has very similar grass, very similar golf course, in such that it tests every part of your game right before the players. And so that's obviously a huge leg up, and he seems to be trending. I picked Rory last week. I think I might.
You're sticking with him.
I think I might pick Rory this week just because it seems like he got a little bit of a thorn in his side last year with Scottie taking over. He doesn't like that, and he's obviously probably the second or third most successful golfer in the last 20 years. So it's hard to bet against him. But I would love to see a real duel, which we've been really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we've been absolutely robbed of that. I mean, I don't see guys getting paired the way it used to be. Yeah, we haven't seen like Tiger and Phil final group going at it. One shot here, one shot there, and really making some drama. So hopefully they can get back some of the viewership.
Well, they're paired together in the first 2 rounds this week, which is cool. Well, and we were close to seeing that at Torrey Pines, and then Rory shit the bed on Saturday, and then Scottie was kind of hanging around. So yeah, you're right. We haven't really gotten to see that 1-2 duel over the weekend.
Yeah, I would love to.
The only two that we got to see last year was Xander Schauffele and Rory at the Wells Fargo, and Rory ran away with it. Right?
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So I would love to see it come down to Rory and Scottie as well, and even throw Xander in the mix. Hell, let's get them all up there at the top of the leaderboard and come down Sunday, come down to 16, 17, and 18. I mean, what an iconic kind of three. I would say that it is a underrated last 3 holes of golf.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it doesn't get the acclaim because of 17. Like, It's all about 17. But you've got the par 5 to where it's risk reward. You hit it in the water, you're kind of screwed. But at the same time, you come down 18 and you got to hit that tee shot. And you got to feather that bad boy in there. And there's a lot of pull hooks that go on.
Yes, there are. Yeah, it's 18's a phenomenal tee shot. If you've got the balls, just
guys, I'm getting chills.
Send driver. But yeah, Players is probably one of the only tournaments, especially because it's still a pure field. Although next year it won't be, but I'm sure we can get into that. But it's a 156, I believe, and it's just 156 of the top players. Period. End of story. So there's no, there's nothing really special about it. And it's in that it's just the top players, period. And it's truly the top players. So there's no special exemptions or anything like that, aside from I think the winner of the Corn Ferry Tour gets in, which is awesome. But yeah, so I'm excited. I love the players. I really do.
Great
Love
event.
the players. I was telling Matt early on, I'm like, the players was my favorite tournament because growing up, I didn't realize that it wasn't a major. I thought the players was a major as a kid. Like when I got into golf, I was 13, but David Duval was my favorite player, ends up going and winning. And I'm going nuts thinking he broke through. He won a major.
Yeah.
So it's always to me been the fifth major out there. But I do want to thank Matt Gannon for his time tonight. I know you're out there on the East Coast. You're at TPC Sawgrass. You got to be up, you told me, at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Gracious.
So he was gracious enough to come on for our Players Championship edition of the Pull Hook Golf Podcast. Awesome insights. We're definitely going to have you back on. We got to, because those insights were way too fucking solid, if I must say so myself. So we really appreciate you coming on, Matt.
Yes, for sure. Reach out to me whenever. Great talking to you both. And Brent, we got to get you back out there. I heard you got a new job, but I think we need to get you back on the course. You need a loop. You let me know.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. The biggest thing is some zeros in the bank account, and then we'll get after it.
Yeah, we'll get after it. Hell yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Matty. Have a good one.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you, dude. All right, Brent.
Players recap, dude. That was solid.
Dude, I told him, I was like, you've got to come on to the podcast. We've got to get you on because he's just so such a knowledgeable,
young guy, huh?
Young guy. Wasn't a golfer growing up and literally became obsessed.
Wow.
Not only with golf, but with the analytics behind it. And they built out an entire AI algorithm around everything, and they track every single metric. A good person for you to tap into as well.
I was getting ready to say that. So there's a huge...
And he knows a lot about your game too, by the way.
Well, I'm sure I'm honored. The crazy thing is there's a huge demand for a solid stat guy. And when I say stat guy, I'm not saying I just look at the shot link data and this is this is a guy who's going out there and basically, like you said, doing the job of a caddy. And I mean, caddies would pay for it. Players would certainly pay for it. If he was able to get a weather report, a superintendent report, stat report with regards to what did they do in past years, hole locations, all these different things, breaks on the green, so on and so forth.
You got to check out the website.
Oh, I bet
because
it's expensive,
they break down so much around all of that, and they break down they actually identify certain players based off of what he was talking about, where it's a accurate long driver, but somebody that can control spin, hits wedges well. And they've got this all broken out into a science, and my God, they are so spot on, even with guys deep. That's why they started going into gambling, because there's so much money to be made there.
Why not?
And he was telling me, he's like, dude, I make a lot. My salary last year was all from golf gambling. I was like, holy shit. That's crazy.
And he lives in Florida, which is perfect.
Yeah, and he's buddies with Willie Wilcox, who's Sungjae's caddy, and I know he's helping Sungjae out with stats and stuff like that.
I'm sure.
So
yeah, they probably
it's definitely somebody we got to get you a little bit intertwined with, because like I said, I brought up your name and he goes, "Oh, I know Brent." He's like, "Yeah," and then he starts spitting out your game to me, and I'm like, "Holy shit." I was like, I've played with Brent. I know that's his game.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to see it broken out like that. But I'm sure he could end up providing ways to practice and things to improve upon, and all different types. And then based off of your tendencies and so forth, how you actually play a golf course and that course management that goes into it. That's what a lot of guys are doing now. When I had Bobby on the podcast and he was caddying for all those guys, and those were things that they all look at. I mean, because data and analytics have taken over when it comes to golf, and it's pretty crazy that it's done so. But let's talk some depressing news here. So good old Tiger Woods injured again, and I've actually got some insights around this particular deal, but I want to start with you, Brent. I mean, how devastating is this for the fan base, you think?
Yeah, I mean, if anybody's ever saw Tiger with shorts on, they definitely know that he doesn't have much in the way of calf muscle. So
It's the other leg.
it's the right leg.
It's the left. So the right leg is the one with all the damage.
Yeah.
The left leg is the one that he tore the Achilles.
Oh, okay. Well, that's still okay because it still proves his point. He still doesn't have much muscle on that side either. He doesn't really do legs anymore, and hasn't for years. I asked Phil one time. I said, so because calves is kind of Phil's game, right?
Our
said,
Phil's game.
I was like, well, what's the deal with that? Like, why does he have such skin? He's like, he's always been that way. Always, like since 90 something, like he's always been that way. So, it's tough. It obviously sucks. It was funny. The GM at the store I'm working at, he goes, holy crap, this really sucks. And he's getting into golf for the first time. He's like mid 30s, early 40s. And so he's been a Tiger fan. He was like kind of depressed most of the day. And I was just kind of like, I've lived through like multiple injuries while I was playing. And it was like, could Tiger come back? I'm playing on the PGA Tour this year. Maybe I see Tiger. Nope, gets in a car accident. So it's like, it was just one of those things. It sucks. I like Tiger. He's a really nice guy. I don't necessarily agree with his politics with regards to the golf world, corporate world, but he's done so much for golf, and none of us would be here doing what we do without Tiger. So hard out to him and his family. They're going through a lot right now. So.
Trot, I don't know what you mean. Is Tiger not playing Augusta? Matty video is up on a post. Brent, it's a must watch. I don't know what video you're talking about. We've been live, so
the other Matt.
Yeah. Okay, so I did see, and this is part of this report, by the way, is that the Sky Sports UK says major doubt for the Masters for Tiger because of the injury. Folks. Yeah. The Achilles is a year-long recovery for a guy at his age. By the way, they're always going to say, especially a doctor, surgery went great, right? I've never heard once a surgeon go, oh, we really fucked it up in there. They probably should come after us with a negligence lawsuit or malpractice.
Yeah.
No, they're always going to say, oh, it went smooth. It was great. Everything was perfect. Yeah. Same thing happened to my dad. So my dad, who's older than Tiger is, but very active guy, and he ended up rupturing his Achilles. And when they did the surgery, said everything was great. Sure enough, it was not great. The cadaver that they put in there, the ligament that they attached, ended up disintegrating and turning into an infection. Then they had to do it again, and then it barely took. So he almost lost his leg over the whole entire thing. So like, folks, when you get up to a certain age bracket, when it comes to an Achilles, it is not a simple recovery. Like Aaron Rodgers, defied a lot, but he couldn't even come back within the amount of time that he was trying to with everything going on. And he wasn't even back to 100% this year, a year later. So he's starting to get back there, it looks like. But that being said, I don't expect Tiger to be playing within the next, I don't see him playing in the PNC even at the end of the year. That is even a little bit too soon for him to recover. Now it is Tiger. Every time that I've ever said, oh man, I think he's done, because I've seen Tiger when he was getting those back surgeries to where he couldn't even sit at a poker table. Like he gingerly would get down, and he was supposed to be playing in a couple weeks. So it's not something that I'm going to say that Tiger Woods can't come back from, but I will say that this could be career ending. This could be it.
It's one of the things that so he hasn't played an actual turn. I think he played the Hero briefly. He might have even been in a
not this past year.
He didn't play. So the guy is injury prone, has been since he was very young. And so the fact is that he's 48 now, 49. And unless he gets on a lot of things that I think would certainly be a question for drug testing, I don't see how he's going to be able to play before he's 50. And even if he's 48, he's turning 49 at the end of this year. So he's got, basically a good year and a half, year and 3/4. But yeah, I just, heart goes out to him. He just lost his mom. Obviously, he's dealing with a bunch of stuff right now.
Dude, what terrible timing.
Yeah, it sucks. And so I just have to remove golf from the equation completely. And I think that's exactly what he would do. It's probably what he is doing. He's like, listen, I got TGL. I got an extra guy to take my spot. But that might be it, man. Like think about all of the stepping off of he's already putting all the pressure on that leg to begin with, because his other leg is just shot. And he doesn't he's got 15 vertebrae fused or some ridiculous number. And so it's not great, man. It's not great.
I saw Claire Hogle from, I believe she's with Golf Digest or Golf.com. I can't remember which one.
She's with them now. Good for her.
I don't know which one. I believe that's her. But that being said, she came out with today on Twitter that good old Tiger has more surgeries than major championship wins now.
Boy, that's interesting coming from her. Yeah, I've known Claire for like 10 years.
Is it
odd?
She's the one with why am I thinking it's somebody else and not the name that I'm saying?
So Claire's an influencer. I didn't know.
No, not the influencer. Who the hell is it? It's the girl who does a lot of the I'm blanking on the name. I will correct this.
Sorry, Claire.
Apologize.
Much love. Yeah. Shout out.
Apologies, Claire. Apologies to whoever it is that it is. But I do want to take a quick break.
Yeah.
Oh, I do want to take a quick break because I want to put up our sponsor ad from earlier. Brent was not here for it, and I don't believe Trot was here for it. I don't believe Brian Shane was here for it. There were a few that missed our sponsor ad, so here we go.
devereuxgolf.com을 방문해봐. 그래서 devereuxgolf.com을 꼭 확인해봐. 할인 코드로 풀훅골프20을 사용하면 devereuxgolf.com에서 전체 주문에 대해 20%라는 큰 할인을 받을 수 있어. 꼭 확인해봐.
매티, 잠깐만. 이건 사막 골프 브랜드야. 저건 확실히 바닷가재가 아니야. 그냥
사막가재.
아마 그래.
그럴 수 있겠네요.
사막 바닷가재 같은 거네. 정말로.
아, 정말. 지금 쇼에 많은 청중이 함께하고 있어요. 우리는
You know what's really funny about that? I grew up around so many Korean people that fuck, that's gonna be awesome. Oh,
Dude,
it's official.
So I gotta get the U.S. captions for it. I only have that little segment, but they're going to be the group that's doing this. Their AI is going to do the lips at some point in the near future. So this has taken a long time because we've talked about it for what, like 2 months now. Yeah. And the first sample we finally have. And by the way, it's like if you listen closely, it's like the tone of our voices.
Oh,
it's unbelievable.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yeah, it's really good. What are they? We'll talk about it off camera, but how did they even approach you? Dude, that shit was the fun. I tried so hard not to laugh like really loud, but I couldn't help it. Fuck, that was funny.
So, Brian Shane says he'll take 6, please. Oh God, I'm dead. So I showed Butsy this earlier today because he wasn't going to be able to be on the show, and he lost it. He goes, "Can I post this?" I'm like, "Absolutely not." No. I'm like, I've got a little plan for it. We're gonna definitely put this out on social media at some point. I want to get the US captions because I don't even know what the hell I'm saying or what was said. So it'd be great to have the English subtitles so that you can actually understand what was being said and then what's going on.
And then it doesn't matter. And then it doesn't matter. Yeah, I only know 2 words in 2 or 3 words in Korean, and that's it. So, but
Devereux.com. I almost want to play it again, but we're not going to. We're not going to go that far into it.
That'd be hilarious.
We can't beat a dead horse with that.
How did they even get a hold of you?
Oh man, it's a long story. We'll get into it offline.
All right.
Cool. Too much to get into.
What do we got? So we got the players. We covered Tiger.
We covered Tiger a little bit. I mean, my question to you is: are we as a fan base? Do you think people are just still latched on to the Tiger, Phil, Serge. I mean, what's funny is LIV has allowed kind of these guys to like have a second round in their careers because of the tiny fields and some of these golf courses that they're playing that aren't very long, that are tricky, like Hong Kong. Because I believe Sergio won. I saw it on social
Well,
media.
good for him.
And then Phil Mickelson was up there. And
His
of course,
team
Phil's
won,
like,
right?
I'm trending towards Augusta National and the Masters, blah, blah, blah. But like, are we just as golf fans not willing to let them go because have we really seen that new group break through? It
No.
was Justin Spieth, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler, and then they all ran into a slump. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, who else is there? Now it's Ludwig. You kind of have, Luke Clanton is starting to come into the fold, who just got his card. You've got Nick Dunlap in there. So it's like, but you don't have the big personalities that like a Phil was. That I mean, and Tiger, what's funny about Tiger is you can't say that he was a big personality.
No, on the
But you
course
could
he
say
was.
that on the golf course, he showed emotion and people fed into that and loved just the greatness.
Which nobody
behind
really does
Tiger.
anymore. And you're
No.
absolutely right. I mean, I think your thinking is spot on. The problem is, and obviously, how many times we had a conversation with our dads or with guys kind of in their 50s or 60s, we're like, I've been watching golf since fucking 90 whatever or 80 whatever, and this, that, and the other thing, and they didn't do the same things that Tiger or Phil or David or even you go back further like a Freddie Couples, who was known as like a cool customer, but then when things were kind of went like an awkward way, he would show emotion. When he won a tournament, it was everybody felt like they won the tournament with him, and I think that that's lost right now. I think the
I
part
do
of the
too,
problem,
because even before this generation, sorry to cut you off, but
No, you're
before
fine.
this generation, it was Arnie, it was Jack Nicklaus. Like you had those personalities where you had the Golden Bear, who is serious competitor. You had Arnie, who was the people's
king.
guy.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like we have those storylines and those characters really built out at this point. I feel like they're forced in a lot of ways. Like trying to say that Ludwig Oberg is the new Arnold Palmer is a tough one for me. That came up on the broadcast over the weekend.
Ricky is the only human being since Arnold Palmer that could even get close to that.
And the problem with Ricky is that he hasn't won a lot.
No, and I talked to him. It's funny. It was really weird, actually, how it worked for a couple of people. Ricky was one of them. I played a practice round with him in Napa for my first event, and I've met Ricky before. We've got a ton of mutual friends from my time in Marietta, and so I just kind of asked him. I was like, "So, like, what happened?" And he's like, "Honestly, like, dude, I made like 30 to 50 million off the course for the first however many years I made my money, and at this point, everything else is gravy." And now I can really focus on trying to get after it with golf. And I took advantage of my time. Jesus. Took advantage of my test.
Was that a demon coming after you?
It
Like,
sounded
what was that?
a very big truck.
Okay.
But yeah, so and I asked, him, and then so his caddy Ricky Romano, who is a fantastic player himself, actually. I just kind of asked him, like, where are we at right now? And I asked him that a couple of weeks before he won the Rocket Mortgage, and I was like, oh, something's happening here. And it happened a couple of times. It happened with Syeth later in the year at Napa. Talked to him earlier that week about driving the golf ball, and then he sprays it all over the planet and wins the golf tournament. Not really sure how he did that, but speaks to how good he is. But you're right, it is forced. And the part of the problem is the PGA Tour has become ultra corporate. Not that it wasn't before with Tiger and Phil and Tim Fincham, but it's being run by people that have just completely different values. They don't really think about the big picture either. They don't really think about what the fan base is actually telling them. They're really just focused on what's best for the top executives, the PGA Tour corporate, and the top players. And I'm not going out on a limb here. It's not like I'm some conspiracy theory. It's just based on what's happened so far.
Well, let's get into that, because Jay Monahan out at the Players
saw
had
that.
some pretty strong comments that
So
really kind
ridiculous.
of, Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, he brought up reunification as the main word within everything that he was saying. And it was kind of a bombshell, to be quite honest with you, because we really haven't heard him or any of the guys talk about the fact that, what would happen to LIV if this deal goes through. And he basically said that LIV goes away, that parts of LIV could live on in the PGA Tour through this deal. He also reiterated that the leader of the United States, can't mention his name because they for some reason flag us every single time. So, which is still weird that we live in that era where on YouTube we get flagged for that. But YouTube, if you're listening, please fix that. But yeah, the big guy is on their side, and he reiterated the fact that the big guy wants reunification, wants golf back together, and the only thing holding that back is Yasir. And he talked about the fact that Yasir would get a seed and all that. So, I mean, a lot of this we've reported on for the past, 8 months.
Yeah, at least. Well, it's been happening since, like I always say, June. I think it was June 4th.
It was June last year.
2023.
Yeah.
2023 is when they announced the boilerplate.
Well, that was 2023, but they had deals in place that they couldn't get through, who. And with that, we've been delayed. But now all of a sudden, and by the way, people that are like, oh, you just make up shit on Twitter. I love that, by the way, because it makes me feel so good. I'm like, man, if I was that smart
it's one
to be
Google
able
search.
to if I was that smart, Brent, to be able to come up with a wild conspiracy, I'm just not that creative. I'm not.
Well,
that
we wouldn't
smart.
be doing this podcast. I mean, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I would be doing something a lot
exactly.
different. By that being said, like when I would get this from sources and so forth, that Yasir went in and all of a sudden was like, no, I don't want LIV to go away. And all of a sudden it was everybody against Yasir, and that's the big step backwards.
I figured that would happen. I mean, we thought that it was the Department of Justice, which it probably was.
Don't say that name. We get flagged every time.
Well, they can come to my door if they want.
No, it's for the podcast.
Oh, well, I'm
sorry.
Those guys up there in a certain place. That we thought that that's what was holding it up, and it probably was. But it's pretty clear that there's huge pride and huge ego at the table. Which I can't sit here and say I would be any different, because you're dealing with billions of dollars and people that want to win the game of I got over on you and my stick's bigger than yours. So the big problem here is that the U.S. economy isn't supporting golf right now. So there's no part of something that's interesting I've learned over the last couple of days. We had a huge boost in golf 2020, 2021, and into 2022. Well, the last 2 years, in 23 and 24, it
was down.
It was down
about 30%.
So, and what that really means to me is that even though there's not really anything left as far as merchandise not being able to get from LA or from Tampa or whatever port because of COVID, nobody can afford it. So it's just ridiculous that we're even here right now, because at the end of the day, what this comes down to is it absolutely was on Jay and on the PGA Tour to, at the very least, pick up the phone, and none of this would have happened.
I agree with that sentiment. I said it from day one around kind of my critique on Jay with the entire thing, in that this falls on him. However, the one thing that I will give him credit for right now is the fact that he is standing his damn ground. Yeah. And he is not giving in when it comes to LIV Golf surviving. Good. So, like, I had a tweet today to where I'm like, LIV Golf is going to die. And that's okay. Like, it's okay that it's going to die.
It really is.
It did a lot of things for the players.
Sure.
Right? For the top players. Let's put it that way. Yes. Did a lot of things for the top players, got them paid a lot more money. The PGA Tour all of a sudden lost all of its leverage that it always had, has become more flexible now, is being run more so by the players because there's more players on the board than there are actual, business people, let's say. Yep. So with that entire restructure of the PGA Tour, like golf's in a pretty good spot, in my opinion. Like, granted, there's some changes that we don't agree with. We've been very vocal in regards to that. But LIV Golf did its job. Like, when you go back and listen to Phil Mickelson talk about rights and so forth for the players and all this money that the PGA Tour has that they're not putting into purses and so forth, guess what? All of that is now corrected, and this is where I'm okay with LIV Golf dying at this point. I know there's going to be a fan base, the Colts and so forth, that are really upset by this kind of demeanor and by this kind of rhetoric, but it's done its job. And it doesn't need to live on, because if it lives on, it becomes the ugly, I don't even want to say what I'm about to say. It becomes the XFL. Let's put it that way. We've said that on the show.
I agree.
And
It
I've
kind of
said
already
that for
is.
a couple of years. Yeah. I mean, then let's talk about that, because LIV Golf Hong Kong, they are struggling with the US viewership. Okay. Now I get it. Contextually, you could say all day long, it's in bad time slots. All right. The Open Championship is in bad time slots, but people fucking get up and they watch it if they love it.
Correct.
And if there was this major fan base behind LIV Golf, guess what? They'd get the fuck up and they'd watch it.
Correct.
And that is
Or
not
at the very
happening.
least, stream it. Save it
Well,
and
and
stream
that's
it.
so that's what they want to say, is that everybody's got the LIV Golf Plus app, and everybody paid the $60 or whatever it was in order to watch it all year long. No, that's not the case.
How many?
It probably
Who's
has the
everybody?
same,
Who's it?
well,
15,000
so
people.
you got like 100 people on X.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like-
even if you are generous and you say 100,000 people, super generous.
Oh, not I
Like,
no. There's no
You
chance.
can't even get there.
I would say their download, like if I was to just make an assumption based off of viewership that's going on Fox, okay? If I was to make an educated assumption off of, okay, who's going to fork over $60 for the year to watch LIV Golf on an app? I'm probably going on the US market. You're probably looking at 10 to 20,000 people at most.
There you go. So 15,
So-
15 grand. So it's like that at the end of the day, let's just say that that's, a little more, a little less for the sake of the argument, whatever. What does that
Have you seen
matter?
the numbers?
Oh, no,
Have you
God,
seen
no.
the numbers?
No, God, no.
12,000 viewers for round one on FS2.
Awesome.
17,000 viewers for round two of FS1.
That's
so Fox
incredible.
Sports 1. It's abysmal. It is like, I'm sorry, but it's
Are they
dying.
surprised?
Yeah. I mean, this is
Why?
bad.
The thing is like we talked about this a couple weeks ago when we kind of went down the list of players that are on LIV that would come back, and there are several. But you got to remember, it goes right back to your question a few minutes ago with regards to the personalities. There's only a few players that we can think of because all of the rest of the guys are super boring. Like, they're so boring that there are YouTubers that are making more money and are more like quote unquote famous than the golfers that are on the LIV tour. Like, it doesn't
It's just
mean
not
anything.
a good product.
Correct.
Dude, I watched it for 3 years, and I saw the broadcast was always my negative, right? That I was like, man, this is really bad. Like,
Yeah.
they're giving you narcolepsy over just flashing lights,
God, so
one
bad.
shot after the next, and they got better year over year. But the problem is, like, even with Faraday, like, Faraday can only carry them for so long.
Which is
You've
exactly
got
what he's doing.
Arlo.
Yeah.
Arlo is not a golf person. Like, great like sports voice.
Yeah.
Not a golf guy. He's a soccer guy. Like, he was in freaking Ted Lasso, the show,
Oh, yeah.
as a soccer
That's
announcer. Like that's his role. And then, you've got Don Boulay.
Yeah.
And then the other guy who I can't remember, he used to be in broadcast, but like they booted him out because he
McCord.
wasn't, and he just has like ridiculous opinions too.
Is that
are
McCord?
just like, no, it's not McCord. It's no, McCord. I'd actually like Gary McCord.
Well,
Trying
if
to
him and
think of the
David
damn
were there,
guy's name.
they'd kill it. But that's the thing, right? Is that when they signed David Faraday, this idea was, oh, this will really do it, whatever. And then they didn't get the deal. And then they got the deal, and he's basically the only person that anybody would tune in to listen to anyways.
And I did I like David Ferry,
Yeah.
and I love
we
the
all
fact
do. We
that
love him.
the second year that he was on there, I was listening to the broadcast, but it just became to where it's like
Super monotonous.
they have a tough time with the storylines because they don't have the time. And this is one thing that actually David Ferry talked about in an interview that I'm not making this up. He literally talked about it in a podcast interview to where he had a tough time, especially when he first started with LIV, to be able to fill in such tight spaces with actual storylines and with actual content to build up a tournament, because you can't do that when it's shot after shot after shot after shot after shot. And it's even tougher when it's a shotgun. So there's a lot of downsides. It's just not a great product. And I think it's faded off.
Are they still doing the shotgun?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh geez. Yeah. See, this is my point is that this idea that they had all of this thought through, or what, it can't be really one or the, it's either they didn't think anything through and they just kind of threw shit against the wall, see what stuck, or they had everything thought through. They definitely didn't have everything thought through. So it's got to be the other way.
They could have crushed this.
Oh, sure.
If they had done team golf and just said, fuck it, you know what? We're not going to worry about official world golf rankings.
No.
We're going to try to work out a deal with the DP World Tour so that you guys can play in other tournaments. You've got the Asian Tour. That was a smart move by PIF to buy the Asian Tour and get these guys some official world golf rankings. But then why not just go in, if you're not getting the official world golf rankings, do what the TGL did, make the regular season matter.
Yes. None of it matters. None of the golf
matters. Make the team matter. Yeah. Build a regular season. Don't try to have a golf tournament
and then
that is an individual golf tournament with a team aspect to it.
Yeah, see, this is my point, right? So the fact is that they definitely didn't have everything thought through. So barely any of it, right? So then, right, you have all of the people, and again, I started as complete anti-LIV. This is total horse shit. Can't believe these guys are going over there for money. And then in the middle of it, I was like, okay, so we're going to do some sort of deal. And then at the end of it, I'm like, hey, you know what? I got a family. I would go play. Now I'm just like, okay, at the end of the day, I just am tired of the people that are disillusioned and they're just sitting there they're like, what do you expect? It's literally the worst type of golf is college golf, and that's basically what you're watching on a professional level.
I gotta argue with you there. I like college golf. I know you have a bias against college golf, but college golf does match play too. They don't do just individual tournaments.
At the end,
there are match play tournaments that take place.
At the end, no, that's where I think they should have absolutely adopted kind of what you're saying. To try building a city in a straight line over the desert for trillions. Yeah.
Dude, you got to read it. So I'll read it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The PIF are the same motherfuckers who tried building a city in a straight line in the middle of the desert for $1 trillion. Half-assed, expensive ideas are their specialty. And by the way, I know exactly what he's talking about. It was supposed to be this mirrored city and all climate controlled and all this stuff. They had all these great architects and engineers. And I haven't heard a thing about that recently. And then we've got another one from Brian Shane here. At this point, I feel like the tour now has the leverage as long as no one else bolts to LIV. If things stay status quo, I think LIV goes away at some point. Any more news on Brooks Koepka's plans? Brooks is gone. So I talked with a LIV source and they were like, he's gone. Everybody knows it. He's very vocal about it. That's why Phil didn't have a problem. Phil knew what he was doing when he chirped back at Freddie Couples for making that comment, because he knew that most people weren't aware of what Brooks has been saying and everything. But Brooks is gone. Brooks is coming back to the PGA Tour. His contract is, and by the way, I haven't seen his contract, but what I have heard is his contract is up after this season, and he 100% is coming back to the PGA Tour.
Why would that, why would you want to do shotgun 3-round tournaments? Why? It makes no sense.
Well, for him, the entire reason he took the money was because he was injured. He didn't know if he'd ever get
super
back to
injured.
that elite
Yeah.
level, and he wanted to take care of his family. And for all those reasons, I totally get it. And it's the same
Absolutely.
reasons why
And
the
nobody
way,
blames
by
him.
the way, that Dustin Johnson is not Dustin Johnson of old, because he is enjoying his life, and that's okay. He made bank, and that's perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
and they also
Like, he'll
won a
stay on
shitload
there
of
as long as
tournaments
they'll
for
have him.
LIV. He also won his team 4 aces is by far and will probably go down as the best
In year
LIV
one.
team.
In year
Was it
one, they
okay
did.
last year?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Well,
they
I
were
stopped
not
paying
great
attention.
last year. They were good year one. They were okay year two. Year three, they did not play well because DJ didn't play well. Pat Perez wasn't playing well. And you had,
seen
like,
those
there was
guys?
some weakness there.
Yeah.
So, and then this year, I don't believe that they've played well. I really haven't followed it, to be quite honest with you. But I did see something on X around Dustin Johnson being like one of the last place guys in Hong Kong. And that's just not, I mean, you could put DJ on any golf course and he's not going to be in
Yeah.
last place out of that caliber.
With a
of-
ladies set of clubs, he would
Yeah.
not be last. Like he'd be
Exactly.
just fine.
So, to that point, I feel like right now, and I was always a big proponent of PGA Tour, bring in LIV Golf underneath the PGA Tour banner. You know, let's do some team golf during silly season over the fall and kind of have that be the elite guys. And then you've got everybody else playing in meaningful events that get them into the next year and trying to earn their card, trying to get into the top 50, things along those lines. So I saw it as that always. And then I'm like, you know what? Right now, with where it's at, the PGA Tour, which by the way has been bouncing back with viewership numbers, I think the TGL has actually helped with that. It's brought back kind of that excitement around individual players. Like, as much as people want to shit on the TGL,
Peace out. A-Town down.
devereuxgolf.com을 방문해봐. 그래서 devereuxgolf.com을 꼭 확인해봐. 할인 코드로 풀훅 골프 20을 사용하면 devereuxgolf.com에서 전체 주문에 대해 20%라는 큰 할인을 받을 수 있어. 꼭 확인해봐.
매티 잠깐만. 이건 사막 골프 브랜드야. 저건 확실히 바닷가재가 아니야. 그냥
사막가재.
아마 그래.
그럴 수 있겠네요.
사막 바닷가재 같은 거네. 정말로.
아, 정말. 지금 쇼에 많은 청중이 함께하고 있어요. 우리는